Interesting. And the reason why I asked this, Jayjeet, is simply because, and I'll bring in Sharad Kohli at this point as well. Sharad, the reason why I posed that question was because, like I said, yes, putting it in homes would be the ideal situation where everyone, all of us try to move towards solar as much as possible. But a lot of the homes are old. It does become a little bit tricky and complicated. But when we come out with certain schemes and policies, and when we set out the vision, it doesn't always, it seems, translate into even the basic government agencies or government buildings adopting what the government is rolling out. And the reason why I say that is, as Jayjeet pointed out, the new parliament does not seem to be powered by solar energy. Similarly, I was visiting, say, the NGMA in the national capital just the other day, and you won't believe it, they don't have UPI to buy the ticket there. I was very, very shocked that day, because this is in the heart of New Delhi. It's of course a government-owned entity, and you don't have UPI, so they're asking for either 20 bucks cash for the ticket, or you're taking out your debit or credit cards in a day and age where most of us don't even carry our wallets. So my basic premise there, Sharad, being that yes, we've now built the solar parks, and we have gone to the world and we have launched the Solar Alliance, and we've said that, listen, we all need to come in together and take this forward. But on ground, how do we actually achieve that reality? What perhaps can be a better incentivization method as far as adopting solar is concerned?
Thank you, Devika. I think to answer your question on a lighter note, I would say our Prime Minister thinks ahead. As you rightly said, probably the NGMA building is not equipped with something as basic as a UPI or a QR code or whatever. The Prime Minister has got a vision which is far ahead of the planning agencies, and it is then Prime Minister's vision which gradually translates into action. Now, coming back to your point and question about challenges. I'll take it forward from where Jayjeet left, a very interesting case in point. I think the master plan of a town and the master plan of a city has to be aligned with this project. As Jayjeet pointed out, the buildings are, of different heights. So you tend to shadow the other building. There's no sunlight on some of the roofs.
Exactly. Honestly, in my home in Delhi, you can't put it. You can't have solar panels because as you said, it's completely, there's just no sunlight that comes on the roof.
Because someone must be smart enough to build a couple of extra floors.
Yes.
So that prevents, in law we call it as torch. Somebody has blocked your probably sunlight. The other thing is that the roofs here are saleable. So because of the master plan doesn't permit you to construct, or it permits you to construct both ways. So the houses are sold as floors. Now we have very, very rare, and this is becoming rarer actually, having independent houses. So having an independent house is a great incentive and makes the things feasible as far as implementation of something like Suryodaya. But the problem is that if there are 4 floors, there are 4 families living, and they are rarely, friendly with each other. There is some other dispute. We've seen the parking issue. It's something like sorting out a parking issue, where where government found out that you make a still and you park your cars inside. But there, if somebody has got 3 cars, so likewise, I put up my solar panel. If that solar panel, I use 3 ACs, somebody uses 2 ACs, somebody's got 5 ACs. So probably the distribution within the building for the solar panel will also be a complication. But for me, Devika, the bigger challenges, and which lot of first of all, we don't have an official estimate, Devika, of how many households in India are actually, because Suryodaya scheme is primarily targeting the residential, and Prime Minister said 2 things. One is he'll bring down the cost for the poor and the lower middle class and the middle class.
Yes.
Second, it will reduce our dependability on the customary power, on importing. We'll become more self-sufficient. These were the 2 prime objectives. Now, if the cost of installation of a solar panel is very high, although there are subsidies, there are incentives, but I'm sure this PM Suryodaya scheme is going to do, we are expecting the finer details, the fine print is yet to come. We all know that, Devika. But I think once these come, I'm sure either there's going to be an incentive or this would be subsidized. Another case in point is that the entire solar panel block is very bulky and huge. So we need a more, I have seen it in Europe and some of the other places in Middle East where they're using solar energy. The panels are very compact. You don't need a huge, occupying your whole terrace. So what people do is they end up wasting the terrace. I was talking to somebody in Delhi. He said, I've got a terrace which is about 2,000 square feet. And if I install a solar panel, which I need, it will occupy probably 1,000 square feet of my terrace. And I'm using that terrace for a garden, for holding parties and this and that. So the opportunity cost of using the terrace comes into picture. So more compact panel, which is less expensive, is the need of the hour. And I can bet you, Devika, that the Suryodaya scheme is going to hit this aspect, because I think the government is very well aware of these challenges. It's not something that we are thinking out of the box. These challenges are very much on the table of the higher ups who are taking decisions. The Prime Minister came back and he held a meeting with the officials of the Ministry of Power, especially renewable energy, to see as to how this can be sorted out. Because in a country like India, where sunshine, there is no paucity of sunshine throughout the year. So there is the only challenge is linking it and aligning it with the master plan. The building should be aligned and made accordingly so that you are able to trap the sunlight. And then the cells, we need advancement of cells who can hold the power for that long. So on a day like this in Delhi, Devika, you're in Delhi. Look at how Delhi weather has been for the last few weeks. Sunlight on one day, no sunlight on next 3 days. So I think the solar panels have to be capable of storing the sunlight for that 1 day or 2 day a week when the power comes. Obviously linking with the grids and all that is a solution, but we heard Jayji talking about the challenges in those solutions. So I think the cells need to be advanced. If you put the tick boxes, the cells have to be advanced, they have to be more compact. A very cost-effective panel has to be there. The whole installation has to be cost-effective, and government needs to, come forward, take one more step. If you really want the poor and the middle class, the huge Indian middle class, I would say, if you really want them to come forward, I think government just needs to take one more step before people start holding the hand. About 13 to 1400 kilowatt is the per capita consumption, Devika. So it's not a very, very large amount. I mean, Indian households, all of them don't have 5 ACs or 4 ACs.
Yes.
Probably 1 AC or a couple of coolers, a fridge and a television and a few lights. I think that's all they need. So it's very, very doable. And I'm sure Prime Minister's initiative, Devika, is going to address these challenges. I have no doubt about it.
Sharad, at the same time, as you were talking, and I was also just thinking that does this then also present an opportunity to the people in the country to perhaps now come up with some of the solutions that you were talking about, that we need to make the solar panels more compact? And I'm sure there's a lot of R&D and work that's already happening to that extent. But is there something that then needs to be done to maybe accelerate that R&D, to maybe take it forward and give some incentives to people who maybe want to become solar panel manufacturers, people who want to work on specifically rooftop installations in cities and, in homes and people's houses?
Well, the best solution to your question, Devika, very interesting question, I must say. But on both sides of the table, Devika, one is the consumers and the other is the researchers. People who are involved in researching and upgrading the technology. The answer lies in a very old saying in English, which we say on a lighter note. It's all about money, honey. If you incentivize, if you make it more profitable, and you explain to the household that look, if you invest 1 lakh today, you are able to recover your cost in the next 2 years or 2.5 years. Then I certainly do not mind. And same goes for the researchers. If a researcher is putting in 6 months or 3 months in bringing out a solution or an innovation, and you tell him that we are going to reward you, you're going to get a lifetime of an award or probably some kind of compensation, I'm sure. So the answer lies in incentivizing it and monetizing it. I think in India, if you want something to move really quickly, you announce a reward, announce some kind of money, and you see how quickly it moves. I'm sorry, I'm sounding very commercial, but that's how the way things run here, Devika.
Right. On that lighter note, I mean, it is an important conversation, but I'm going to probably have to end it on that lighter note, and hopefully it is through these conversations the message might reach out to some of the young entrepreneurs and people who are constantly figuring out in this country what is next that they can work on and what are the industries that they can join. Definitely solar is a part of the future especially in India and also in the rest of the world. I thank all of our panelists for joining us on this broadcast. With that, we sip into a very short break.